Before I put this down on the table, I know this looks like a boring old combo unit. I'm not going to talk about every mind-numbing detail that you can find on every single one of these. I do want to talk about one feature that always seems to get overlooked, or maybe this is the only one that has it, but it's an important part of preserving analog video. But first, here it is. This is the Magnavox ZV427MG9, a VCR/DVD combo unit produced toward the tail end of the format, or past the end of the format. I actually saved this from being recycled. It caught my eye on its way out, and I pulled it out of the pile of actual junk. It looked so new and it wasn't heavily used. What caught my eye was the HDMI port crammed all the way up top. That's actually cool. When I got home, I plugged it in and it didn't turn on. There were a few lights blinking as if it was trying to work, but it didn't, which in hindsight is why it was in the recycling. So I cracked it open to see what could be the issue. I'm going to publish the whole process on a Patreon exclusive, so if you're interested in that or want to support me, I'd appreciate it. It looked pretty good up until I got to the actual power supply, and that's where I saw it. I'm going to have to recap this VCR. You can't have leaky capacitors. This could happen for different reasons. Maybe it was heat related, or they might have used really cheap capacitors to begin with. For the replacement, I got some nice ones from DigiKey because I want it to last. These are Nichicon caps that I understand are very reputable. They're rated for 10,000 continuous hours at 105 degrees Celsius. That's a little over 416 straight days for you metric folk. It was my first time ever dealing with capacitors, and I learned a lot. The whole process went relatively smoothly. I removed the old capacitors and soldered in the new ones. Also, legal disclaimer, don't mess with electricity. These caps can hold a lot of energy, and you can get hurt. These capacitors were a little taller than the originals, which I should have checked beforehand. This made it so I couldn't actually reassemble it. There was a lot of extra plastic below the DVD mechanism, and the power supply is right below that. But I was able to remove the extra plastic, and it worked just fine. I sealed it up, and I didn't have a single extra screw. Let's test it out. Sitting around waiting, let's plug this in. No way. Okay, we got a power light. It's hard to see there, but it says L2. After cleaning up my workstation, I found a bag full of screws, but we'll just ignore those for now. I brought the VCR inside and set it up next to my TV. I didn't mention the I/O, so let's have a look. On the front is S-Video, composite, and audio in jacks, where you can plug in a camera or whatever you want to record. It has your standard set of buttons for play, pause, you know. On the back is a fan that's decently quiet. There's a set of RCA jacks for input and output, S-Video, input and output, component out, and digital audio out. That's a good selection. And of course, the HDMI port. The HDMI port has its own board inside the VCR that takes up a good amount of space. Sadly, the HDMI signal is encrypted with HDCP, and my capture card won't allow recording of protected content. I wish HDCP wasn't applied to literally everything coming out of the VCR, since people might, want to watch home movies. Now that doesn't prevent me from watching it on any normal screen, and to be fair, most people wouldn't be plugging it into a capture card. The output looks about as good as a component output. Every once in a while there's an issue where really sharp lines are a little jumpy, but it's not a huge issue. It lets you change the HDMI output resolution from 480p, 720p, and 1080p. So this gives you a nice digital output with a lot of good color resolution, just like component. There's not a whole lot of menu options that are unique to this unit. Video input is where you choose from the front or rear inputs and S-Video or composite. And in recording settings, you can choose to dub from VCR to DVD or DVD to VCR. That's actually kind of cool. One of the main use cases for this unit, from what I can tell, is to convert your old VHS tapes to DVD to digitize them. But it probably costs them almost nothing to do that in reverse. Enough of that. Now it's time to start dubbing. Let's first go the intended way, from VHS to DVD. The tape of choice is the matrix. You have to put the tape in and get it to the starting point, which is probably the beginning of the tape. Then I'll throw in a blank DVD. This is a normal DVD, but you can actually use rewritables too. I think this is an amazing addition. I could take an entire library of VHS tapes and digitize them using only a single DVD. Anyway, the tape is ready to go. Set the source to VCR, then press the D-dubbing button. No idea what the D stands for. Maybe digital? I'll let the whole thing play through. The tape is 136 minutes long, so the standard play speed will be just fine. You can adjust it from HQ, or an hour, SP, standard play, for 2 hours, SPP for 2.5, LP for 3, EP for 4, and SLP for 6. You have a lot of options, and you want to get it as close as you can to the movie length, just so you're recording at the max quality that it will allow. When you hit the end of a movie, you can manually stop it, or it will automatically stop after 3 minutes of blank tape. Once you stop, it has to finish writing to the disc, and when you're done writing everything you want to the disc, you have to finalize it, which locks it from being written to and makes it readable by any DVD player. It doesn't take too long, about 3 minutes for an hour and a half of video. Now let's put this into my computer. I can play it with VLC normally, and the disc menus show up and everything. The quality actually looks pretty good. It looks similar to what I see on my CRT or when I'm watching on HDMI. But here's the part that surprised me, and not enough people seem to talk about it. If I toggle subtitles, the caption track is showing up. Now I know this doesn't seem interesting at all, but it is. Let me explain. I've talked about this before, but as a refresher, analog video is made up of hundreds of lines. Most of them are visible, but there are some lines at the top and bottom of the image that aren't. This area of the image is called the vertical blanking interval, and it's used by the TV to synchronize the image. But there are so many lines that are just wasted. When captions were added to analog video, they decided to put some pulses of light on line 21, which is within that blanking interval, to digitally encode the caption text. It was a good way to put toggleable captions within the already existing analog video standard, and then the TV just decodes this and puts it on the screen for you to read. When the VCR is playing a tape with closed captions, it simply passes along line 21 just like any other line. It doesn't care about it, the TV does. In fact, it generally can't decode it. Now that you know all this, let's go back to the DVD it just made. It has the captions there, completely toggleable. So that means the VCR actually has a caption decoder in there, and while recording to DVD, it has to make digital caption data and put it on the DVD. I thought that was really cool, and it's an important part of digitizing VHS tapes, and it's one that seems to be overlooked. I tried searching for people talking about preserving captions while digitizing VHS tapes, and for the few that talk about it, there doesn't seem to be a definite solution. Maybe I didn't type in the right search terms, or maybe it's just a given and all these units do it, so no one talks about it. But I haven't come across anything that spotlights it. At the same time, making a video strictly about this feature doesn't seem like too much. That's why this combo unit with a little bit of a backstory seemed a little special. Also, this does captions with analog inputs too. That means that if I ever stumble across another analog format, like Laserdisc, I can preserve the captions with it too. Here it is working as expected with my Austin Powers Laserdisc. Again, it's important to save this extra data. People work hard to get every last detail out of the analog video, so why not save the captions too? Sadly, this won't convert copy-protected tapes. It can tell when something like macrovision is being used. Macrovision is a type of analog copy protection that puts pulses of light and other weird things in the vertical blanking interval that mess with the VCR when it's trying to copy it. I guess some part of the circuitry is literally just meant to detect that and prevent you from recording. Oh, and one more thing. I want to see if it goes DVD to VHS with captions. Okay, we have an episode of Seinfeld playing. It's on a commercially produced disc, so there's captions there. TV's decoding it. That's just normal DVD player stuff. Now let's do dedubbing. We got a empty VHS tape ready. And it's not doing anything. Oh, I need to set the direction. I already showed this earlier, so I'm not going to go over it. DVD to VCR, and then back, exit, play. It should just pick up where it left off. Nice. And let's do dedubbing. Okay, it's waiting for the actual tape to spin up, and now it's going. I was worried there'd be some copy protection. I'm just gonna let this play through for a little bit. Okay, now this is playing off the VHS tape. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. That's so cool. The captions are totally coming through just as if I was playing off a DVD, so. But yeah, it's cool. It works just as expected and even keeps all the positional data and stuff. That's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something. I have a Patreon where I post exclusive videos and early access to main videos, so if you want to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching.